Hello everyone. In the previous video lecture, we have seen global scenario of special education. For a broad understanding of the status of special education in India, let's see its division into parts before and after gaining independence in India. So let's see pre-independence India. India has a very glorious past with respect to the treatment and educational opportunities provided for us disabled population. In Vedic era, we have a glaring example of Astavakra for becoming a great scholar by virtue of the educational facilities available to all respective of their abilities or disabilities, who was a severe case of orthopedic impairment. In that time, the great rishis were known to provide equal treatment to their pupils irrespective of their social and exceptional or non exceptional abilities. They were firm believers in the theory of karma. Therefore, they were of the opinion to give ample opportunities to the disabled, poor, and sufferers to learn the art of self actualization and doing good in life. By the way, the treatment, care, and education of the disabled children in India also passed through the phases or era of exclusion, extermination, and abduction, ridicule and amusement, sympathy and asylum. There are instances of the disabled people being harassed, ridiculed, and made a subject of amusement and entertainment. Practice of treating any deviation from the normal as a sign of the shadow or mark of an evil spirit leaves the body of the affected persons. The disabled and poor were treated as subject of sympathy, pity, and asylum. In advocating humane treatment to the disabled, Lord Buddha and Mahavira, that propagators of the doctrines of Buddha and Jain religions. However, as a matter of record, the pattern of special school education followed at present in our country owes its origins to the work done by the Christian missionaries and other charitable organizations of the country. The following establishments may be mentioned specially for this purpose. The first school meant for the special education of the deaf was established in Bombay in 1883, and the first school for the blind was started at Amritsar in 1887, and the first school for blind and deaf was started at Mysore in 1901, and the first special school for mentally retarded and physically handicapped children began in India at Kyoseong in 1918. Now let's see post-independence era. After gaining independence in 1947, India tried to focus on the education of its children, including the disabled. The main landmark in the development of special provisions of the disabled children after independence may be outlined as follows. In its constitution, India laid down special provisions through Article 45, stating that free, compulsory, and universal primary education should be provided to all children up to 14 years of age. and it tried to pay attention towards the prevention of disabilities and education and rehabilitation of disabled by laying down specific budgetary amount in its 5-year plans to meet the constitutional provision where the task of spreading education among the non-disabled population was entrusted to the Ministry of Education, the Social Welfare Ministry of the Government of India was chosen as a coordinating agency for the education and rehabilitation of the disabled. Now let's see the Indian Education Commission 1964-66. The Indian Education Commission was the first statutory body to suggest that the education of handicapped children has to be organized not only on humanitarian grounds but also on grounds of utility. The Commission observed that although the Indian Constitution had issued specific directives about compulsory education for all, including children with disabilities, very little had been done in this regard. The Commission also emphasized that the education of children with disabilities should be an inseparable part of the general education system. At the time when the Commission made its recommendations, there were less than 250 special schools in India. The Commission set the following target to be achieved by 1986: education for about 15% of the blind, the deaf and orthopedically handicapped, and 5% of the mentally retarded. Next one is integrated education for disabled children. In 1974, the Ministry of Social Justice and Employment, Government of India initiated the IEDC program to promote the integration of students with mild to moderate disabilities into regular schools. Children were to be provided financial support for books, stationery, transport, special equipments and ads. The governments were provided 50% financial assistance to implement this program in regular schools. Inclusive education for children with special needs in India. Now next one is National Policy on Education. In 1986, the Indian government formulated the National Policy on Education for all government schools and articulated a need to integrate students with disabilities. It emphasized that whenever feasible, the education of children with motor handicap and other mild disabilities should be provided in regular schools. It also emphasized the need to restructure primary teacher training program to prepare teachers to deal with the special difficulties of children with disabilities. Let's see Project Integrated Education for the Disabled. In 1987, the Ministry of Human Resource Development, in association with UNICEF and the National Council for Educational Research and Training, undertook Project Integrated Education for the Disabled, or PIDE. The aim of the project was to strengthen the implementation of the IEDC scheme. Furthermore, District Primary Education Program, a centrally sponsored scheme, the District Primary Education Program aims to reduce the overall dropout rates of all students enrolled in primary classes. to raise their achievement levels and to provide primary education for all children, including children with disabilities. This is probably the largest program of the central government in terms of funding. In 1999, the Government of India came up with the National Trust for Welfare of Persons with Autism, Cerebral Palsy, Mental Retardation, and Multiple Disabilities Act. The focus of this act has been to protect and promote the rights of persons with autism, cerebral palsy, mental retardation, and multiple disabilities on a national level. In 2000, the Government of India launched Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, an ambitious program seeking education for all by 2010, fully believing that the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan would ensure that every child with special needs, irrespective of the kind, category, and degree of disability, is provided education in an appropriate environment. It had a target of 8 years of elementary schooling for all children, including children with disabilities in the age group of 6 to 14 years by 2010. So, in this lecture, we have seen few points of Indian scenario of special education in India. Thanks for listening to me.